Are you searching for purpose of life? Discover your true identity. Stay tuned to Shalom World.
Lovely lady dressed in blue, teach me how to pray. God was once.
My mother Mary has taken this heart of stone and has softened it and has prepared it to receive Jesus.
Sometimes gently on your knee, did you sing to him the way that my...
And now Jesus dwells in my heart, and he is the light that I shine now to everybody around me and showing his love for others.
Telling stories of the world. Oh, when did he cry? Mary, my
My name is Francesco because I'm Italian. I was born in Italy, and I lived my first 8 years in Italy. And that experience, living as a boy in an extended family on a farm, mixed farming, where we had many fields with different kinds of fruit and olives and corn and wheat, and we planted everything. We did everything. We had lots of animals on the farm starting about 5, 6 years of age. One of my jobs, along with my cousin, we would have to take the sheep out to the pasture. My dad would take me into the barn where he took care of the animals, and he had beautiful oxen, these large oxen that were used for plowing. And my dad would prepare the fields by plowing them to prepare for seeding or for planting plants. And then, he would spend a lot of time with me, talking to me about, the gentleness of how to treat the cows and the oxen and the other animals. By 1954, many of our relatives started to immigrate to Canada. And so in 1954, we got an invitation from my uncle. He sponsored us to come to Canada. And so it was a big decision for us to make as a family. But my mother and father decided that coming to Canada would be best for their kids. Unemployment was great there, and it was hard for people to have jobs. And so my father struggled to find employment. And my mother also had to find something to do. As children, we experienced a lot of difficulties, of course, with the language and with different customs and the traffic, and we weren't used to that. We would think back about the good old days when we were in Italy, and we thought about being in harmony with the land and having that freedom. And now we come to Canada, we're dependent on everybody else because of the difficulties. My mother took us to church regularly, especially on Sundays, but my father followed the same pattern as other Italian men usually did. He occasionally would come and escort us, come to the church with us, but he wouldn't go in, only on special occasions where it was weddings, funerals, or baptisms, those things he would come, or Easter and Christmas. But other times, Italian men weren't very spiritual in that sense, but they were spiritual within themselves as men and character, but not with the catechesis of the Catholic faith. I got a little bit of that in me because I kept my faith kind of private and inside of me rather than being outward and showing my faith. Marie and I, we planned to get married at Our Lady of Perpetual Help, which was our parish church. And we got married there on June the 27th, 1970. After being married, we realized that June the 27th was also the feast day of Our Lady of Perpetual Help. So then we kind of, see the connection between Our Lady and where she wants us to be and who to be with. And so I think we fit into God's plan because, things started very, very well for us. When you're having a family, you need a larger place to stay and raise your family. So we had to buy a house, and we had a mortgage, and Marie was working and a little bit, and I was working full-time teaching, but there wasn't enough to make ends meet. We just needed something else, and so I decided that at that time that Marie would stay home and I would take a second job, part-time job to make ends meet. Things continued along fairly well, but I noticed that there was a lot of stresses now because I was working at school, I was working at a part-time job, and it took me away from the kids, it took me away from my wife, and the load and the load that she had to carry was part of my load, and you began to feel that stress. One particular time where I was feeling down, and the things at work were kind of stagnant. Somebody said and mentioned to me, "Look, there's a conference coming up, and it's called the Spice Conference." I think Our Lady just kind of made me go there with an open heart, an open mind. And that conference turned out to be the time that I was totally converted to being a stronger Catholic, a more visible Catholic, where my light, Christ, had to shine within me and outwards to other people around me. In my mind, there's still some doubts as to the power of prayer. I didn't quite believe in that. I didn't believe in some of these things. I couldn't rationalize how just words were powerful and were going to be meaningful to affect relationships with God and things. And then one evening, my wife invited a rosary group to come into our house and bring the statue of Our Lady. My wife went to the store and bought 2 vases of brilliant red roses, and so she had that prepared for where Our Lady was going to be set on the table. So after everybody came in and sat down, and we sat down around Our Lady, I was in the far background somewhere, looking at the statue and wondering about, praying the rosary and, are we praying really to a statue, or is there going to be any difference in this? So I looked at Our Lady and I was analyzing her, and I said to her, "Are you really there? Are you present? Are you here? I need to know." And so what would you like me to do, type of thing. I said. I need a sign. I need something that you can tell me that you are here. And I'm going to ask you something that's probably not going to happen. So I said, "You see those roses there, the red roses?" I said, "I'd like you to change the color of 1 or 2 of those roses. Just different color, not red." And I left it at that. So the next morning I went to school, I went to work, and when I came back that evening after school, my wife was very excited. She said, check, something happened. And I said, "What happened?" I said, "I think somebody asked for a sign last night when we prayed the rosary to Our Lady." And I said, "Gee, really? What kind of a sign was it? What is it?" He says, "Well, come, take a look." He says, "You see these roses here?" She said, "Do you see anything? Do you see anything?" He says, "Yeah, I see the roses." He says, "Well, look at these roses here." And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that was, just left me breathless. So I said, you know what? I think somebody did ask Our Lady for a sign, and that person was me. And she said, this is a miracle. I said, well, let me check it out first. I checked to see whether the pink roses were from a different plant. It could be two plants coming. One was a pink, one was red. No, all the roses that turned pink was on the same plant that the red roses were in. And so I took some pictures, and in the pictures, I still have them around, and I every once in a while have to look at it again, and it was truly a sign from Our Lady to say to me, I am present. I'm here to help you. Call on me. And from that time, that's when I started to pray the rosary. Before, I was just saying the rosary. Now I was praying it with intent and with meaning, and it was much more powerful.
Can he hear me if I speak low? Can he understand me now? Lovely lady, tell me, for you know. Did you hold his hand at night? Did you ever try telling stories of the world? Or when did he cry? Do you really think he cares if I tell him these little things that happen? And do the angels' wings make a noise?
When my dad died of cancer, he had lung cancer, and during the time that he was getting treatments and things there, I often thought about, questioning him about how he was feeling about his faith. Was he ready to die? Was he at peace with God? And that particular conversation, I would always kind of avoid, because it was such an emotional thing in my heart, and to try to talk with him. Unfortunately, he died sooner than I expected, and I didn't have any other chances to talk to him about preparing him for his death. And I had the guilt of being uncertain as to, well, maybe it was my fault that, that his soul maybe wasn't saved. I went back to Our Lady and I said, I need one more favor from you. I need you to help me with this guilt that I have. And talking about death is not an easy thing, but I want some proof that my father was not condemned to go to hell. We're going on a pilgrimage, and during this time I said, I want to see two oxen. I don't care. They don't have to be the white oxen that he had, but I want to see two oxen kind of standing side by side, or cows too, just standing there, so that I know that you are giving me the sign that everything is okay. During the time that we were traveling to and from with the buses and things, and I was always looking out in the fields and looking in people's yards to see if they had any cows or any oxen and things. So I kept looking and looking, and I was running out of days, and the pilgrimage was coming to an end, and I had one more day left before we were to leave. So that last day, my wife and I were on a little trail, and there was a house, a building that had an ice cream shop in it and a soda shop there. So I said, I'm going to go inside there and just take a look and see what kind of ice cream they have there. So I went into this shop, but as soon as I walked in, I looked in front of me, and in front of me there was a large wall with a large painted mural on it. And on that mural, when I looked at it, it had a mountain background, like in the area, and then rolling hills, and then a pasture in front. And in the very front, and spotted in the background, were some cows. And then my eyes went on to this pool of water that was right in front of the foreground, and there were two large cows. And when I saw those two cows standing and drinking and standing, I said, oh my gosh, Our Lady has once again shown me that, my father is okay. And at that moment, just tears just rushed down in my face. I couldn't control the joy that I had of knowing, of having been lifted with this guilt that I carried.
And do the angels' wings make a noise? Can he hear me if I speak low? Can he understand me now? You know. Can he understand me now? Can he understand me now? Lovely lady, tell me what to say. Lovely lady, teach me how to pray. Lovely lady, you know the way.
Our Lady kind of plays with us sometimes and lets us have the signs that we need, and so that we don't question anymore. We don't have doubt in her graces that she gives us. And I had to accept that from then on. It was easier to accept everything else that was happening in our lives. We could face it together with my wife and work on it together, and through prayer and increasing our prayers. And that wasn't the only thing. Then we were more involved in church activities. We were involved in more prayer groups. We were involved in more activities that people would say, to us, well, you guys are you're so holy. But it's a struggle every day. Every day you wake up, you need to have that intention of being holy, of being more holy, and striving. Every day is a challenge. My mother's name was Grace, and every time I pray the rosary or say the Hail Mary, full of grace, my image of my mother comes into me, and I see her holiness. I see the effect that she had on me. Blessed Mother Mary has taken her place, and now she has that motherly instinct for me in my heart. Now I have her as a mother, and she's the one that brought me to Jesus. She's the one that emphasized with me that it was my responsibility now to let Jesus shine outwards. Let Jesus come and be a witness for you and for other people around you, and especially your family.
Our Lady of Fatima will go down as the greatest of Marian apparitions in history. It all began on May 13th in the year 1917 when 3 shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos, her cousins Francisco Marto and Jacinta Marto, witnessed a vision of the Virgin Mary standing in front of them in the fields of Cova de Iria. They received messages of peace and of prayer, and they even saw a vision of hell. Many thousands of people began to gather in that area, and they saw the children there seeing the Virgin Mary, the Blessed Mother of God. These messages were distributed to the faithful, made it all around the world, making Fatima the greatest of all Marian devotions. The greatest miracle that happened related to Fatima was the Great Sun Miracle, which occurred on October 13th, in which the thousands of people there who had been gathered to hear those messages of Our Lady and to witness a miracle were drenched in a rainstorm, and they looked up to the sky and they saw the sun growing in size and spinning and descending on them. Was it mass hallucination? I'm not quite sure. The people there who were drenched previously were instantaneously dried, and people witnessed this miracle from many miles away. Our Lady of Fatima goes down as one of the greatest apparitions in church history, and Pope John Paul II beatified two of those visionaries and released the third secret of Fatima that related to the assassination of a bishop in white. He, of course, relates that to his own assassination attempt on the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima, taking the bullet from that assassination and placing it in the crown of Our Lady of Fatima. Our Lady of Fatima will go down as the greatest Marian apparition in the history of the Catholic Church.
I've been encouraged by what I've seen of Shalom Media and the sorts of events that they promote across Canada. We hear our Holy Father speaking often about a new evangelization for today's world. That is going to call for media, modern media, to be involved in spreading the good news of Jesus Christ. So we ask the Lord to bless Shalom Media and all of your efforts to bring the good news into homes, into people's lives. Amen.